towards we went to Kenya in a place called Moruna Yeche. We stayed there for about 3 days and we ran short of food. I had nothing to do but survive on raw meat and blood. We're drinking water from the chain of a cow, squeezing it and then taking it as well.
And when I looked outside, I saw the guy climbing here with a gun on the back to jump.
I walked on foot for over 80 kilometers. That is from Moroto towards the Kenya border, through the hills, sleeping in the bushes under heavy rains, sometimes very strong winds, but
Karamoja sub-region is an area with rich news stories ranging from insecurity, hunger, poverty, alcoholism, plundering of minerals, unique culture, tourism, pastoralism, among others, but very insecure for one to practice journalism. Field journalists move with money just in case of an emergency and simple bites to convince warriors in case they run into an ambush to save their lives. Sometimes journalists have to foot long distances due to poor road networks. Others sleep in the bush and survive on raw meat and blood from livestock as a way to survive.
Easy, especially if you want to make a story. I've had an instance looking for FGM stories where I walk on foot for over 80 kilometers. That is from Moroto towards the Kenya border, through the hills, over Mount Moroto, into the ranges, into the hills, rocks and everywhere.
Here is not like Kampala or Mbales, where you can jump on a taxi at any time. You know, here you have 2 buses that leaves in the morning. If you're going to Abim or Kampala, if you miss the bus, you have to wait for the evening bus. It's not like Kampala where you choose to move to the next trading center and you have your 1,000 and it can take you. You jump on a taxi, there you are. Here it's unless you have a personal means or the media house has its own means. That is where,
Veteran journalist Oladeson Wanyama has been reporting from Karamoja for over 20 years.
So they had the conditions in Karamoja here. I was forced to eat raw meat. There are instances when we went to Kenya, towards we went to Kenya in a place called Moruna Yeche. We stayed there for about 3 days and we ran short of food. I had nothing to do but survive on raw meat and blood. We're drinking water from the chain of a cow, squeezing it and then taking it as water. But fortunately, I didn't see myself even falling sick. So when I tasted that one at that time, I picked the courage to eat the raw meat. Up to now, I still eat the raw meat. I even drink that water, the chime, that water in the chime today in case I get thirsty and I'm in the field.
Wanyama is among the journalists caught up in raids and ambushes by cattle rustlers, facing off government soldiers in crossfires while on duty.
Just a few meters to Kotido Road Junction, we survived an ambush. The suspected rustlers had stolen animals and they were coming all the way from Nakapiripiriti crossing. So we bumped in them. They ordered our car to stop, which we did. But later on, they saw we didn't have any armed person. They allowed us to continue, but on warning that we should not tell anybody in town. Where warriors almost, that was in 2010, warriors almost killed us. But again, we were also saved by a few Turkanas who called the other people not to shoot. So those are the instances.
Hope Owini Ochero, a news reporter at Hotel FM in Kotido, recalls how him and other colleagues survived being killed by warriors on the 17th September 2022.
That was a time when people were dying so much of hunger in Karamoja. Then, we kept on, just a little background of that. So we kept on following the stories that other journalists were reporting about the death in Karamoja. It was alarming, it was scary, but the stories lacked evidences. So I made a program with my colleague to go deep into those places, villages where people are dying, to go and document these deaths, to go and do some reporting with evidences. To go and see the graveyards where people have been buried and then stuff like that, families that have lost people to hunger and stuff like that. So we wanted to do a reporting with much evidence. And then on this particular day, it was a Saturday, I think, we got up with my colleague and then went to a sub-county called Chamkok. That is the first sub-county as you leave Kotido heading to Abim. That is the first sub-county under Abim district. So we had made an appointment with the LC3 chairperson who would get somebody to guide us into those villages. But then when we reached the home of the LC3 chairperson, the LC3 chairperson had gotten some other engagement. Something, came by and he had left. So we had to postpone that assignment. And then I told my colleagues, so I think we can come and do this another time, because my colleague was to help me in camera work and stuff like that. So now on our way back, it was around midday, I got a particular man with some other guy that had stopped by some place which was very lonely, and then I identified him. He's a pastor within town here. And then I told my colleague, no, you know what, I know this guy, so we can't bypass them right here. Let's find out what's up. And then he told us they had got got a mechanical problem, and they were telling us to go and then send for them some mechanic from town. But where they were was a very lonely place, considering the insecurity. I told him, Pastor, you know what, it's risky for us to leave you here. So what we do, we can tie our bikes and then we pull you back to the nearby trading center. You can repair your bike and then continue with your journey. And then we said it's fine. So I was riding, my colleague, and then the one that Pastor was carrying, and then Pastor was on the behind bike controlling. So it was at around midday. And then we met two boys on, civilian. They were putting on, civilian. They stopped me in the local language because I was riding the front bike. But then I could not suspect anything. They were on civilian and stuff like that. They were not armed. And then I thought maybe they were talking to themselves. So I tried to proceed, and then they jumped in the middle of the road. That was when I stopped. Little did I know that the gunman had jumped from the bush, and I was already on gunpoint. I had not seen. So when I saw the side mirror, all my colleagues behind, they were raising their hands up. They were surrendering. I was like, but now what's happening? What's happening? So when I looked at the side of the road, I was on gunpoint. And the person that had put me on gunpoint was putting on the AS2 uniform, the uniform of this police AS2.
Was it a foreign form or just?
He was putting on only upper one. Was putting on a shirt AS2, then a short, and then was carrying his gun. I was on gunpoint. So when I gathered some courage, I then asked him. I told him, now, what do you want? What is the problem? Because the face was trying to look familiar. I was trying to identify him, and then he was also trying to over-eye at me. So then other people jumped now from the bush with sticks and stuff like that. So my other colleague asked me, and he told me, Obster, you guys are exchanging knowing looks, like this guy is over-eyeing at you. Do you know him? Then I told my colleague, man, you know what? I'm trying to recall this guy as if I've seen him somewhere. And then he told me, no, you know what? You're at a risk here. So what we do, just turn your face off, because if he is to realize that you're trying to know him, he will shoot you to clear the evidence. So I also now had to turn my face away, and then the boys jumped, and then they told us, pick everything that you have, take off everything. They took the phone from me, they took some money, they took the national ID, everything that we had. And then I had some money, they took it. My colleague, they took his pass with the driving permit and ID, 2 phones, money and everything. The pastor, they took whatever he had, including the Bible and stuff like that. So now, when they had taken everything, because they were beating us so badly, they were beating us brutally. We were waiting for maybe what next could happen. Are they going to shoot us? Are they going to kill us? And then a vehicle came. Some vehicle came, a white vehicle. The person was driving. He was even speeding. I think he didn't even notice what was happening. So when they saw the vehicle, they jumped back in the bush. So when they jumped in the bush, I also told my colleagues, you know what, jump fast on the bike. Let's also speed away. So that's how we sped away. We reported in the nearby barracks. We branched, we reported. They were taking their own time. They were a bit not bothered and stuff like that. So I told the colleagues, now, you know what, I think let's just go. Let's go and report maybe to police for our property that we have lost and stuff like that. So then we came and reported to police. The next day, the same area, people were shot in the same spot.
Journalist Peter Kelow decided to resign from work after surviving in several ambushes staged by warriors.
My colleague doesn't come from, that colleague of mine, is not from Karamoja here. He became too scared. Work in Karamoja became very difficult. It became very difficult for him to work as a journalist here, very insecure. He was, psychologically tortured. He even had to resign from his job. He still had a very long-running contract and was earning good money. But he just resigned. He said, no, I can't work here. The bosses convinced him, told him, no, you know what, let's work. But he said, no, I'm going back to Soroti.
Here in the volatile Karamoja, not even radio presenters are spared. Josephat Jones Epong, a UBC Torre radio presenter in Moroto, will never forget 5th March this year as Manchester United faced off with Liverpool, when armed warriors attempted to camp over the station fence.
So this microphone will pull the sound. So the microphone was pulling the sound of something knocking. So I got concerned. So when I peeped, I saw a gunman jumping through over there to come inside here. So what I did, I switched off the studio light. So when I switched off the studio light, it got scared, it jumped down. So immediately when it was jumping down, I got off and went behind this door. So when I went behind the door, that's when he shot the bullet, but the door protected me. The bullet went off target and I escaped and went and jumped through and took off. That's how I survived the scare.
Time they keep attacking. Another time they came, but none of us was in the studio. They fired bullets. The soldiers came in and they had to run. So it's a very bad experience that we keep getting at the radio station. So even to my bosses, our proprietors at UBC, please, now that we have been given a new premises, we call upon they should really speed up on the issue of transferring the radio to the new premises, where at least we can feel very free, because where we are.
Such scenarios that put their lives at stake make journalists here in Karamoja to hold reservations about the stakeholders in the region.
Do a story about street children who were relocated to Karamoja by ADRA, the Adventist Development Relief Agency, in 2008. So it happened that when these children were brought back, the children, most of them developed some strange diseases and then he died. And indeed, the committee took the initiative. There are about almost 10 children who died. So the committee took initiative and buried these children, but still wondering what could be the problem. So I picked up the story. I traveled to that place, number 8, made the story ran in the New Vision. After it ran over the weekend in the New Vision, on Monday I was summoned by the district leaders to go and answer as to why I'd written such a bad story. So we had verbal clashes. At that time, Peter Kane, the chap, was the district chairperson. So we had problems with them. They promised to throw me out of the district. One leader tried to slap me.
The people themselves, they don't appreciate the work that we do. Mostly they tend to take it that we are the enemies of progress. So a person, when you write something about a community, some others even threaten that we shall deal with you as a community. Okay? The leaders always say, we are going to come after you, we are going to be dealing with you. They even go and then talk to their electorates, that telling them a lot of wrong things about the journalists. These are the enemies of progress. These are the people who are always tarnishing the image of Karamoja and all that. I was really...
Insecurity in Karamoja sub-region has contributed to the increase in the number of armchair journalists, that they have survived death by a whisker and now prefer staying in offices and pursue stories via cell phones.
People are now picking stories from social media and then sending them the way they are. But this should be the case. A good story, if you got a tip on social media, needs going back to the field, going to talk to the sources, going to talk to whoever is concerned, and even if possible, taking necessary pictures. That one would make a very, very good story. But now most of us what we do, people use phones to write whatever nonsense they have picked on social media. Whether it is the truth or it is lies, this is taken as a story. So, my fellow journalists, what you have to do is we should desist from this armchair journalism. It's not a good, doesn't give us proper reputation in the community. More especially if you write a story and then at the end of the day we hear there are people disputing it. And not only that, it does not provide the government with the necessary action. Because we are writing lies.
The challenges. Because, you know, working here comes with a lot of challenges, risk, and then you begin thinking about, you know, your beautiful girlfriend, you're going to die and leave your girlfriend if you come to Karamoja, you know, to go to those insecure places to, you know, report and then stuff like that. So because you have just a gist of information, you want to break the story, but you can't come to the ground to prove, to get the evidences because of the challenges that we face. So you end up breaking the story without confirming, without getting the right information. So for me, I think the best thing we can do here is to collaborate.
As the region turns out to be a death trap for many journalists in their line of duty, they appeal to their employers to consider fully facilitation. Apparently, those operating in risky and insecure areas like Karamoja.
Sacrifice. It's really a sacrifice working in Karamoja as a journalist, because you know, for someone to accept to work in Karamoja as a journalist, that is someone who has passion and love for the game. But someone who is just in the game maybe to make money, maybe for fame, maybe for the microphone or for the camera, such a person can't work in Karamoja, not even for a month. So for us who are working in Karamoja, you know, writing those pieces of work that you know you read, you watch today, and you want to revise it even tomorrow, you want to, you know, share it, you're excited sharing it on your WhatsApp groups and like that. It comes with, you know, too much risk taking, and so just because of that, we feel that the efforts that we make, first of all, it needs to be appreciated so that we can get motivated and, you know, feel the vibe, get more energy to work, because believe me, the world needs us here in Karamoja.
Our bosses come and then first of all take us also as people who are resourceful, because you see, if you are developing a content for an institution, the institution has to appreciate. It comes first of all with appreciation.
Media houses should think of giving them some hard-to-reach allowance, because it is a commitment. Now, for example, today, if you're moving from Moroto going to Kotido, I think your safety is not guaranteed. You may reach or you may not reach. One, the roads are still bad, and then secondly, the roads are also still insecure. So those are the issues that the media houses should look into if they are sure that journalists can work, or their journalists can work well in Karamoja.
Despite the plea of journalists operating in the volatile Karamoja region, media experts have advised that there is no story that is worth your life, which is a cardinal principle in journalism. Media experts have advised that there is no story that is worth your life, which is a cardinal principle in journalism. Report compiled by Maureen Yiga in Karamoja sub-region.
The gate, I peeped, I saw a man having a gun, not on a uniform, putting on the local wear, Nakatuko, climbing the fence to enter in, and when he comes in, the first person is to see is me. So when I saw him, I switched off the studio light